Full week of basketball leading into Monday Christmas games. Cannot wait. What's going on, everybody? NBA Strategy Show, Monday, December 18th. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by Underdog. 11 games ahead of us and not a lot of value to be found. Very difficult slate. I'm hoping for that by the time we get to lock, but we shall see what we end up getting from a news perspective throughout the day. First and foremost, hit the lights. Yeah, hit the lights. I read chat while I was saying that, and that was the last message I saw. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. Adam, how was your weekend?
It was good. I didn't win anything, but I didn't lose too much money. Pretty much broke even yesterday. Finished
There
down
you
a
go.
little bit. Went to a Christmas party at my sister's. That was fun. Yeah, decent weekend. How was yours?
Great. I did win money. Almost won a lot of money in MMA, but won enough that I can be happy about it. Had a solid NFL Sunday. The only downside to the weekend was a 0-0 draw to Manchester United yesterday. Very frustrating. We bludgeoned those dopes for 90 minutes, but could not squeeze one in. They looked like absolute shit. So, as usual, the entire city of Manchester can suck it. But that's about it for me. We got a lot of basketball to talk about. It's
Yeah, we did.
uh, it's a hard one. It's a hard one. You ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Houston Rockets. 5-point underdogs in Cleveland, 214 total. Darius Garland going to be out for a bit with a broken jaw. We still have no Evan Mobley. We have no ownership coming into this Houston team. They're also on a back-to-back, so we don't totally know who's going to play. Amin Thompson has just not been able to get into the lineup. He comes back, but is still just out and out. But it doesn't matter here today because this is the lowest total on the slate. And unless you're getting random one-offs of Şengün or Van Vliet or something like that, I don't think you're rostering Houston today.
Yeah, seems like a pretty tough spot to get to. Şengün at 8,800, Van Vliet 8,400. All these guys are just getting 1% ownership, 1 to 2% chance of being optimal. Any of the starters here, I think, are just firmly in that bucket of if you're playing 150 lineups and you happen to be using them in a lineup here or there to differentiate, by all means. But not an appealing game, not appealing pricing. Nobody that matters is out to create value here at rising price tags. It's really, really tough to get to this team.
The Cleveland side, I thought might unlock some value just because no Garland, you still have no Mobley. Maybe we land on somebody. We don't really. Now, $9,900 Donovan Mitchell certainly looks better with no Darius Garland around. He's 4% owned. Jared Allen certainly looks solid at 7,400 with no Evan Mobley. He's 4% owned. You want to take some shots at Isaac Okoro. You want to roll those dice on Karis LeVert the same way that I spoke about it last week and he played all those minutes. That would make some sense to me now with no Garland, but I don't really see anything on the Cleveland side that jumps off the page either.
Yeah, same boat. Just a slow-paced game. Salaries have already started to adjust for their injuries. You have Levert up to 6,600, Mitchell just shy of 10K on DraftKings, Jared Allen coming in at 7,400. I do think it's the more appealing side compared to Houston. You got 35 minutes again from Jared Allen. He had played 39 the game before that. You and I talked about it when Mobley first went down. That barring the games where Allen's in foul trouble or just playing, poorly, he has the ability to play a lot of minutes now, which is nice. But those price tags have adjusted. You did get Mitchell essentially playing the entire second half last game, finished that game with 41 minutes played. So certainly a high ceiling for him. But, again, that price tag's up to almost 10K already.
Yeah, it's a really difficult game to want to talk about. Just, low total, both good defenses, neither team particularly fast. And
Yeah.
it's just, we've got way better spots to talk about than this one.
I'm surprised Levert didn't play more last game.
Me too. I'm going to say the same shit I said a couple days ago. Like, he's very likely, or he's very available to just play 30 to 32 minutes today, $6,600 shooting guard, small forward, no Garland. Like, that's there. It's very hard to prioritize on a massive slate.
Right, especially when those minutes clearly are not guaranteed.
Exactly. So let's keep it moving. We'll go Clippers and Pacers. Now, this is a different game. Clippers, 3-point favorites in Indiana, 241 total. Clippers are going to be at full strength unless you're worried about a Q tag on Bones Highland, which I don't think you are. Indiana, though, has a Q tag on Tyrese Halliburton. We still don't have Nemhard or Jalen Smith. So as I look at the Clippers, there's no ownership differences for some of these guys. It's 17% to Zubats, 18 to Kawhi, 16 to Paul George, 16 to Terrence Mann, only 8 to Harden. I'm actually getting a ton of Terrence Mann, which is surprising to me because I don't have him projected all that well. And I'm getting a lot of Paul George, who I do think looks like the best option. But give me any one of the three stars from the Clippers, and I'm going to be okay with it.
Yeah, completely agree. And I would also throw Zubats in there as being completely okay with that. Terrence Mann at only 4,500 certainly makes some sense. I mean, I even think in larger field tournaments, some $3,700 Tice is reasonable. He's getting 9% ownership right now, actually a 12% chance of being optimal. I think any of those guys look fine. I really like the Paul George price tag at 8,100, shooting guard, small forward. As we've gotten more games where the three of them play together, we have seen the rates level out in terms of production. Most of these guys, or all of these guys, right around 1.1 fantasy points per minute, give or take. But the shooting guard, small forward eligibility and being the cheapest of the group makes Paul George look really appealing.
I don't know why I'm getting so much Terrence Mann. I mean, the minutes are there,
Yeah,
but
he's cheap, 4,500.
yeah, but I don't think I'm supposed to have 59%.
That seems like a lot.
Does seem like too much. 0.72 fantasy points per minute. I'm not going all that crazy, but I did get 41% of Paul George, which I don't mind at all. That price tag, those positional eligibilities, that works. But if that were Kawhi, I'd be cool with it. If it were James Harden, I'd be cool with it. How do you want to handle 17% ownership to Zubats, though? On a slate with 11 games, it always just feels a little weird to get a center that's just priced where he should be.
Yeah, but I think it's in this spot. He still looks pretty good. We do have him going over owned, 10% chance of being optimal, 18% ownership. Generally at center, guys like that, I end up like still playing them. Obviously, it's a good spot, but it's not very difficult usually to find alternative pivots.
Anything else here for the Clippers? They looks like they brought Amir Coffey into the rotation for the past two games. I thought it was one just for Paul George, but then he showed up again. Looks like they've excised Kobe Brown. I don't think either one of those guys are going to actually matter.
Yes, I don't think that matters.
All right. Pacer side is pretty hard to talk about in that if Halliburton is in, you're probably only looking at Halliburton or Miles Turner. Turner's pulling 5% ownership right now. If Halliburton is out, then you can start unlocking different things and value. But TJ McConnell, 6,300 on DraftKings today. So even if Halliburton is out, we don't have to worry about it that much. What do you want to do here with Indy, or does it even matter?
Yeah, it's tough to get to much of this at all. The only guy above at 5% ownership is Miles Turner at 7,100. Perfectly fine salary. That's the type of guy, he's what, $900 more expensive than Zubats at a third of the ownership. Certainly somebody in lineups here and there you could use instead of him, but pretty much correctly priced. This whole team is relatively expensive for what they offer. If you can get the Halliburton, great, but he's over $11,000. It's really tough to like anything here.
Yeah, I thought it would look decent, but it doesn't appear that that's going to happen. And we can't even unlock any value really if Halliburton ends up out. And Turner is like fine. We're just going to have so many different centers. It's just not even that interesting. I got one share of Buddy Healed. That's just whatever. His first two games are not all that appealing.
They are not.
Well, we could talk a little bit about the schedule for today. That's going to be a lot later on tonight. 4:45 Eastern Time. Adam and I will be back for the NBA Deeper Dive. We'll then get NBA Live Before Lock at 6 p.m. And then you get NFL Live Before Lock at 7:15 for Monday Night Football. Then the only other thing I got to tell you about is using our avatar. Go to stokastic.com/avatar. Grab our logo, load it up on DraftKings or FanDuel, load it up on Owner's Box, Yahoo, wherever you're playing. You want to load that in because if you finish in the top 3 of a contest with at least 5,000 entries, you will get 1 month of Stokastic, whatever you want. Probably the NBA Sim tool if you're watching this, which is going to be projections, ownership, boom bust. You get the sim tool itself for a full month. It's a $200 value. And all of it has to happen just because you use our logo. The only thing you have to do is tweet that win at StokasticHOF so that we can let everybody know how awesome we are by having people that use our stuff pick up dubs. That's what we're looking for, guys. So go grab our avatar at StokasticHOF is where you need to tweet your results.
I just finished running my early sim. I have you beat on Terrence Mann.
Oh, really?
I have 73.
How much? 73?
Yes.
Okay. Well, feel pretty good about that. Did you have Paul George?
9%. I have
Okay.
23% Kawhi, 9% George, 8% Zubats, 2% Harden.
Okay, so you got Kawhi over George, and I got George
Yeah.
over Kawhi.
On the other side, 13% Turner, 11% Bruce Brown, and nothing else from Indy, nothing at all from Houston,
Yeah.
15% Jared Allen, pretty much it from Cleveland.
Okay, that makes sense.
I assume Terrence Mann goes away at some point during the day,
Yeah,
at
yeah.
least to
As we
some
create
extent,
a
not completely.
yeah, as we create a little bit of value, it's just going to naturally go away. By the way, there are 5 games on today's slate out of the 11 that have 10 or more point lines. Bulls are 11-point dogs. Pistons are 10 and a half. Hornets are 11. Grizzlies are 10 and a half. Wizards are 11 and a half. So big pile of yuck for today. For Chicago, lots going on here. Pain in the ass team. Caruso questionable once again. He's played 1 game out of the past 4, and that was for about 7 minutes. Doubtful tag on Torrey Craig creates some minutes as well. Zach LaVine still out. Only 7% ownership coming into an $8,100 DeRozan. He's small forward, power forward. I have 26%. We're also seeing 12% coming into Andre Drummond, which will go away by the end of the day. But I really like DeRozan here. Obviously, they're projected to get beat pretty bad, but the minutes on White and DeRozan have been huge lately.
What reason is Drummond going to find to not play today?
That's a good one. I don't know. That dude's going to every Mexican restaurant and ordering every single bit of guacamole he can
Right.
find.
Yeah, I'm not getting to a lot here. Drummond at the moment actually is my highest owned guy at 9%, 4,100. Just the backup to Vooch and shows up as a decent value play right now. Probably won't by the time we get to lock on an 11-game slate. 8% Caruso, 7% DeRozan are the other two showing up the most for me. Getting to Kobe White like 3% of the time, Vooch 1%. Nothing that stands out as a priority for me. Nothing that really stands out as a priority for the field either. Like you said, 13% ownership to Drummond is the high mark right now. So I'm actually a little bit below the field on him, even though he's my highest owned guy.
Yeah. Yeah. If I would like to keep 26% DeRozan if we get to lock like that, that just feels like the type of play I want on an 11-game slate if he's not
Yeah, I
getting
mean,
ownership.
you play a lot of DeRozan every day.
He's like secretly my least favorite player in the league, too.
Right.
He just plays exactly the way that I don't want basketball players to play. But
You don't
minutes
you
are
don't like
there, that's
modern
for
Michael
sure.
Jordan?
You mean better Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
Eat that one, chat. Enjoy it. But yeah, I do think he looks the best just given no Levine. I don't think anybody gets created as value like replacing a Torrey Craig minutes with some other idiot. So we can go to the Philly side. This is where it really starts to get interesting. I think Joel Embiid looks amazing today at 11.5, but we also have Luka. We also have Jokic. We've got Halliburton. We've got Shea. And then we've got like Trae Young against the Pistons looking good at a price tag that's a little bit more manageable. There's no ownership coming into Philly. It's 6% to DeAnthony Melton as this high mark. I got 1 share of Oubre, 1 of Tobias Harris. I would love to get Embiid. I just don't know how possible it's going to be. And I'm getting really sick and tired of not having him when he goes out there and just goes nuts over and over again. 2.06 fantasy points per minute over the past 30 days for Embiid.
Yeah, it's been really annoying, and I'm not getting to him either, and it sucks. I would love to. I'm getting 1% right now, Fields at 2%, and I'm just not getting to very expensive players on this slate right now. When I look at my highest exposed guys, the good players that I'm getting a lot of are guys in that, like 8 to 9K range. It's not an 11.5 Embiid. So I would love to get there if I can, but the only guy I'm getting really at all from this team is 8% DeAnthony Melton, Fields at 7%. 8% chance of being optimal. Not excited at all about a 6K DeAnthony Melton, but he just kind of lands in lineups here and there. I'm not getting to much overall from Philly.
There are 8 guys 10K or above. That doesn't include not Donovan Mitchell at 9,900, but there are 8 guys 10K and above. I only have 1 that has more than 2.5% ownership, and that's Trae Young, which we'll get to in a second. But it's just really difficult to pay up right now. That value just doesn't exist. Because it's not like Embiid doesn't project well. He projects awesome, but salaries are hard. I got nothing else for Philly.
Me neither.
The Detroit Pistons are 10.5-point underdogs in Atlanta, 244 total. This team is so incredibly bad. Alec Burks is available. Jalen Duren is out. Isaiah Stewart is out. 21% ownership coming into Marvin Bagley right now. I have 85. So let's have a conversation about the minutes for Marvin Bagley and James Wiseman.
So we have Bagley at 22, Wiseman at 21.
Okay. How do you feel about it? Do you think we get all 48? Reminder, no Duran, no beef.
Yeah. I mean, we did last game. That was obviously kind of weird because it was a massive blowout where Wiseman played the final like 17 and a half minutes.
Yeah, I don't like he could close.
I think one of them closes.
Yeah, I went 24-24. I don't really know what else to do with these guys though.
Right.
At
Yeah, like I think
24-24, Bagley looks good at 40 at 4900.
right. Yeah, and I think projecting 48 makes sense. I think you could also make the case for like just leaving a couple minutes off.
Agreed. Who would you want to project for more minutes than Bagley or Wiseman?
The starter.
Okay. Would you go
But right
24 to
now,
whoever's starting?
what'd you say?
Would you go 24 to whoever is starting? Or would you go 22?
Probably 24.
Okay.
With 22 minutes coming to Bagley, I'm not getting there. Like we have him projected for 21% ownership, 10% chance of being optimal. I have 3%.
Okay. Yeah, I got a lot at 24 minutes, so and I'm not surprised by that either. Fantasy point per minute guy,
Yeah.
4,900, not a lot of value. Like I'm not surprised it's happening, but every little minute that you give to Marvin Bagley matters in a big, big way.
Yeah. Especially in a good spot too. Wiseman at 5,900, I'm obviously not getting to.
No, same. I didn't really get to anything here. Like I think the rest of the Pistons look terrible. I think the only thing that you could really want to get to is Bagley if he's starting, assuming he's starting.
As usual, I am jamming Jaden Ivey right now, and that's not going to happen by
How many
later.
minutes?
28,
Okay. Fair.
which he did technically play last game.
And the game before that.
Yeah. He played 8 in the first half.
Yeah. That's the weird thing is like I don't know what their blowouts are so normal that like
Right.
their closing lineup and their blowout lineup could be pretty similar.
That is true.
Like Jaden Ivey can close a victory and a 30-point loss with equal chances at this point. Like I don't
So
mind
yeah,
if I
I
get
mean,
a
it's
share of
just
Cade, but like this game's ugly.
it's just an example. Like the minutes projection for Ivy probably comes down a couple minutes. But if
Yeah.
it doesn't, he's also not going to be 8% owned is the thing. So we have him with an 18% chance of being optimal at 8% ownership. Those numbers are moving together, and I will stop getting 69% of him.
I went 24 minutes for Ivy. I got 3%.
Yeah, I'll say 24, 26 makes more sense to me.
Yeah. So yeah, if Bagley's starting, he is the guy, like he's getting 21% ownership, and I think he is the guy that you should be getting to. People getting to $6,700 Boyan seems kind of weird for today.
Yeah, I'm only getting the 7% of him. Fields at 10. And also to go back to the Bagley thing and me not getting him, with the way Jaden Ivey is projected right now at 5,300, I'm assuming he's just taking a ton of the 20% Bagley for me. So I assume my Bagley comes up when my Ivy comes down.
All right. The Atlanta side is pretty difficult to talk about. I'm not sure we're going to be able to dig in too much here. Bogdanovich is questionable. Clint Capella is questionable. DeAndre Hunter is questionable. Those Q tags will really depend on everything here. But even if everybody is in, 18% ownership coming to a 10K Trae Young, 27% ownership coming into that Q tag on Clint Capella. Let's start with Trae. I have 45%. I think he's the best pay up option today.
I only have 7, but I do think he looks good at 10K if you can get there. We only have him with a 10% chance of being optimal, 18% ownership. So from that standpoint, he's just not really going to stand out to me. And that's probably like I'm much more in line with our optimal percentage than the ownership, but obviously looks good if you can get there at 10K. Capella is the one that I'm getting a massive amount of.
I have 45 of Capella. I went 29 minutes. I don't have a great feel for what we're doing here. So much of it depends on whether or not Hunter plays. Like if Hunter is out, then we're getting a lot more Okongwu at the 4, which means we're going to get more Capella at the 5. So there is a trickle down there, but 29 minutes of Capella looks really good at 6,700 against this Pistons team that has Marvin Bagley and James Wiseman.
Yeah, we have him projected just shy of 30 minutes right now, and I'm getting 47%.
So we are basically in lockstep. What are you doing with the rest of these guys? Or is this just sort of like, we got to wait until we figure it out?
Yeah, I mean, I think you obviously need to wait on the news there, but the only other guy that I'm getting is 7% Sadiq Bey. Fields at 5%. We have a 7% chance of being optimal. So getting a little bit of him, but Capella is the clear priority for me.
Trae Young, by the way, last 30 days, 1.55 fantasy points per minute. He has
Yeah.
been hot as shit, and I can't imagine the Detroit Pistons are the team that puts him on ice.
Seems unlikely.
So get me some Trae Young across the board. Get me some Clint Capella, but maybe get myself like a lot of a Kongwu potentially, or like Garrison Matthews probably becomes a thing if Bogdan Bogdanovic is out. Like there's going to be some sort of value here one way or the other. We just need the injury report first. Anything else for Atlanta?
No.
Okie dokie. Well, then we'll go to Minnesota. They are 1 point favorites in Miami, 219 total. Minnesota has a Q tag on Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels. Miami has Bam Adebayo available, Tyler Hero available, Josh Richardson available, but Kyle Lowry is out. So nothing is normal ever. As we go to Minnesota, um, there's no ownership coming in here. 4% to Mike Conley is the high mark. I don't have a single share of the Wolves. I like the price on Anthony Edwards, but I don't anticipate getting to Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't have much. I have 2% Conley, 1% Edwards. That's it. The field's not getting there. 4% Conley's the highest owned guy, 2% coming into Edwards. Like you said, if you can get to Edwards, 8,800, great, but pretty tough to do.
Yeah, and with Bam back, this is a Miami team that is, around a top 10 defense. This is the 29th team in pace. So ultra slow matchup for Minnesota. Not fun.
No,
Not
it's
fun. And it's probably worse on the opposite side because now we're integrating a $9,300 Bam Adebayo with Tyler Hero back. No, thank you. $8,300 Tyler Hero. No, thank you. 2% ownership coming into Josh Richardson is the only mark that's getting any love. I can't, like, this is a zero game to me.
I'm getting the 16% Richardson. I don't think that holds. $4,700. We have him projected for 31 minutes.
Okay, so like I can see that. We don't know who's starting.
Right.
Is he going to start in Kyle Lowry's stead and just be the point guard and play 30 minutes? Then I get that.
Right. He could. The thing is that we still only have him projected for 20 DraftKings points, and I'm
Okay.
getting 16%. So it really has to just be this price range right now. Like, given how much Terrence Mann I'm getting that's at a similar salary, and then I'm getting the Josh Richardson even with a low project, like not a good point per dollar projection, really. So it just strikes me as something that probably just disappears for one reason or another by the time we get the lock. We have him with a 10% chance of being optimal at 2% owned. So
Okay.
you're also getting that, disparity.
Yeah. I don't know what to do with his minutes because so much of it matters if he starts. Like they can very clearly just start Hero, Robinson, Butler, Martin, Adebayo if they want. Like anybody can be this start. Like anybody can step in for Kyle Lowry at this point, up and
Yeah,
down the
exactly.
positional
And
spectrum. So
yeah, and Hero being back obviously just changes everything in that regard too, because you have another guy that can have the ball in his hands or will have the ball in his hands and all of that.
but I mean, to me, Minnesota and Miami is basically like a draw line through it game. I don't know how, like, there's no priority here for Miami, that's for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
It
Because like I
could,
said,
like,
I
Richardson
think
will
Josh
look
Richardson.
good if he's starting.
What'd you say?
I think Richardson will look good if he's starting.
Right, but he won't. He still won't look like as good as he does for me right now because if he's starting, he won't be 2% owned.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll be like a 5 to 10% dude, probably,
Right.
somewhere in that neighborhood on an 11 gamer. I got nothing else for Miami.
Me neither.
We're moving pretty good here, folks. Time to talk a little bit about Underdog. They are the sponsor of this show. It's very easy to talk about Underdog because they have basically everything that you could want to do on the sports side. If they're a one-stop shop, if you want to get into playoff drafts, when the NFL playoffs come around, you can do that. You can do that for the NBA playoffs or NHL playoffs or PGA majors. Best ball is rocking and rolling right now on the NFL side. You'll want to get into that heading into next year, whether that's for the NFL or for the NBA. But NFL best ball season is in full effect right now. They have daily fantasy contests, large field GPPs, daily drafts, and pick'em contests. If you're in a non-legal betting state, you can 20x your money. They also have a free square going on the pick'em side. Let's see, it is over 0.5 total yards for Swift. That is the free square for right now. Putting that out there. That is the message that I saw in our Slack. So I'm going to pass that one on to you guys. No graphic just yet from what I hear. But if you want to sign up at Underdog, link is in the description. You can click that link and get up to $100 on your first deposit. They'll match it. So you put in 50, they'll match with 50. You put in 100, they will match with 100. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. The Charlotte Hornets are 11-point underdogs in Toronto, 226 total. For Charlotte, they've got a lot of weird injury stuff going on right now. Gordon Hayward is questionable. Obviously, LaMelo Ball is out. Terry Rozier is probable. PJ Washington is questionable. And Mark Williams continues to be doubtful. 3% ownership to an $8,700 Terry Rozier is the high mark on the DK side. 11% to Brandon Miller on FanDuel is the high mark there. I have one share of Terry Rozier, and that's it. That could change a little bit if we get like no PJ Washington again and no Gordon Hayward. But for right now, if these guys are in, no thank you.
Yeah, same page. 1% Rozier is all that I have from this team right now. Like you said, if PJ Washington's out, it's going to make most of these guys look at least a little bit better. You expect Nick Richards' playing time to increase, but prices have also adjusted. They've been banged up for a while now. Rozier's playing huge minutes without LaMelo. He's a good point per minute guy, but he is getting expensive as well. It's just tough to prioritize this team.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
Miles Bridges is up to 8,500 on DraftKings.
Yeah, that's
he's done nothing to earn that.
No, tough price tag to get to. The Toronto side is pulling some ownership. 20% to Dennis Schroeder, 10 to Jakob Poeltl. Scattered amounts to Precious and OG Anunoby, Malachi Flynn. Basically, everybody is getting around 5% ownership for Toronto. I am getting to 3 of these guys. I am getting to that Schroeder piece, 27%. I'm 2xing Jakob Poeltl at 6,100, and I'm 2xing OG Anunoby. I have 13%, which is a very normal amount of OG Anunoby to get for today.
Yeah, I have 3% of it. How much did you say you had?
13.
Okay.
So like a very reasonable amount of
yeah.
OG Anunoby for today. It's not 73 like it has been in the past.
Yeah, good to see. Schroeder's my highest owned guy right now at 15%. But it's a good matchup for this team. It's just that they are healthy. Prices are more or less correct. For the season, Schroeder's been a fantasy point per minute guy. He's 6,500. Just looks like a solid enough option. Fields at 20%, so I'm a little bit below that. We have him about 12% to be optimal. I am closer to that. Poeltl's pulling 11% ownership. I'm only at 3%. That's my next highest owned guy on Toronto. So I'm really not getting as much of them as the field in general, but wouldn't be upset if that changed because it is a good spot against Charlotte.
Yeah, I did get 8% of Siakam at 4% ownership. That I'm totally fine with. But $9,400 Barnes is a bit of a tough sell now. But anything you can get at Toronto is fine. Charlotte 29th in defensive rating. That is not great, if anybody's curious. I got nothing else here for Toronto, though. This is a pretty easy slate to talk about so far. Until you get to Memphis. Well, guys, if you've been looking for the part of the show where we really need to get into it, this is going to be it. So, no Steven Adams, no Brandon Clark, no Luke Kennard, no Ja Morant, no Marcus Smart, no Derrick Rose. Doubtful tag on Bismack Biyombo. We have 61% ownership coming into Vince Williams. Shout out to VCU. 45% coming into Santi Aldama. I have 98 and 87 of those two guys, so we'll just get to that. 10% ownership coming into Big Body David Roddy, Desmond Bane, and Jacob Gilyard. Only 4% coming into Tillman. So I want to start before we get to Williams and Santi Aldama. Who's a better play today, Xavier Tillman or Marvin Bagley the third?
I hope it's Xavier Tillman.
He is unowned basically right now. I have no idea how many minutes he's going to play, but they don't have any other centers other than him and Triple J.
Yeah, we have him projected for 4% ownership, 10% to be optimal. I have 26 right now. So I'm essentially playing Tillman the way the field is playing Bagley and playing Bagley the way the field is playing Tillman. I'd said before that once I lose a good amount of that Jaden Ivey, I assume I get more Bagley. But either way, just looking at, kind of just isolating Bagley and Tillman, I think it makes a lot of sense if the field is actually going to play Tillman at 1/4 the ownership of Bagley to just flip those or at least be playing a lot of Tillman, because whatever uncertainty you have around the exact minutes that Xavier Tillman plays is reasonable, but it also applies to Marvin Bagley.
Sure does. I went 24 on Tillman. I actually had 28 coming out of the process show, but I dropped that down. It just felt aggressive, especially since they have moved him out of the rotation entirely. That scared me a little bit to just throw 28 at him, but I didn't really get him at 24. If I go to 26, I assume I have a pretty big stand. So dialing his minutes in will be very important. I would love to get that starting lineup at an early enough time. Do you think he starts?
That's what I was going to say. That obviously has a big impact. He has started 5 games this year. He's averaged 26.8 minutes per game in those games, but you could clearly go with a starting lineup that has Aldama and Jaren Jackson.
Yeah. And then you just get like 16 minutes of Tillman as the backup center, and that's it. Like that can happen.
Right. Yeah, like the starting lineup. Yes, the starting lineup last game was Rose, Bain, Williams, Jackson, Biombo. So you have to replace 2 guys there. You could easily have Aldama replace Biombo, and then like Gilliard replace Rose.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Tillman plays much of a role here in the replacing of Rose, other than maybe they just go to Bain at the 1 and move everybody down a peg.
I will say, so we only have him projected. We have him projected for 21.5 minutes right now, and I'm still getting 26%
Of Tillman?
of Tillman. Yeah.
Okay. I like it.
I
I like
can't
it.
tell. So it looks like we're probably projecting the starting lineup to be Bain, Roddy, Williams, Aldama, and Jackson.
Okay.
Or we're projecting Tillman to start and not close. I don't know which one since we don't have
Sure.
a starter designation, but we have Roddy at 29 minutes. We have Aldama
Yeah.
at 29 minutes. We have Vince Williams at 29 minutes. And then we have 34 and 35 for Jackson and Bain, 21.5 for Tillman, 19 for Gilliard.
If I gave Santi Aldama 29 minutes, I'd have a lot more than the 87% that I got. Let's go through these guys. So Vince Williams projected for 61% ownership. How much do you have?
81.
Yeah, I got 98. Look, $4,600 small forward. He's a .8 to .85 fantasy point per minute guy, and he's playing real minutes and has been. Like, I have no reason to suspect his minutes would be any different than they have been. They're missing more and more people. I'm not excited for this, but small forward, 4,600. Like, I totally get why he is the aggressive chalk right now.
Yeah, and it's not like he's a bad point per minute guy. He's at 0.85 for the season.
Yeah. Like, his ownership is absolutely going to be lower than it is right now when we get to 6 and 7 o'clock. We're just going to get more potential value plays that will eat into that. But he is going to be one of the higher owned plays on today's slate. Just kind of like no matter what.
Agreed.
What'd you get of Aldama though? 5,500 power forward only. Assuming you have to have, I'm guessing you have as much as I do.
I have 89%.
Yep, I have 87.
Yeah, 1.01 DraftKings points per minute for the season. And I don't think 29 is like an aggressive projection. I think it's very reasonable. Yeah, like perfectly happy to get to him. How much Bain are you getting to?
None. 4%.
I have 51.
Yeah, I would like that. I have 23% Jacob Gilliard, so I reallocated my priorities for the
what did you say about
Grizzlies. I have 23.
Okay, yeah, I have 1% of him. Like I said, we only have him at 19 minutes right now.
Okay.
We have Bain
only 22.
Okay. Yeah, we have Bain at 35 and a half. 10% ownership, 12.5% chance of being optimal. Shooting guard, small forward, 8,900. He is just getting into everything. And he's one of the big reasons why I assume I'm not getting a lot of Trae Young.
Yeah.
Is
that makes sense.
Just saving $1,100 and playing Desmond Bain a lot.
I think that makes sense.
8% Roddy, 5% Jackson rounds out Memphis for me.
Yeah, 7% Roddy for me. No Jackson, which is kind of feels weird, but this is the first team where it's just like, oh, you got to get a lot of these guys in some way. They just don't have enough people left. So play the Grizzlies. But also play some of the Oklahoma City Thunder. 23% ownership coming into shooting guard, small forward, 3,900, Isaiah Joe. Single digits across the board for everybody else. I would happily get a 10-5 Shea against this Memphis team. Give me any Chet I could get or Jalen Williams. I'm not getting too much of anything here other than I only have 9% Isaiah Joe. I do have 17% of Jalen Williams without the Y.
Yeah, I don't have much of anything. 5% Jalen Williams is my highest owned guy from OKC. 3% to Giddey, 2 to Holmgren, 1 to Dort. Not really showing up for me. They're not showing up a ton for the field either. They're showing up a little bit more for the field than they are for me. But it looks like a team where, I'm fine if you get to any of the starters, but none of them stand out as priorities. I'm not getting a lot of it. Isaiah Joe, like you said, at 3,900, getting 23% ownership, only 11% chance of being optimal. He's just not showing up at all for me right now, probably because of that ownership. We only have him projected for 15 DraftKings points. So when that guy's 23% owned, it's just going to get filtered out.
Yeah, I would like to, I'm getting the same sort of stance here. I have 9%. He's 23% owned. I get why he shows up. He's a sub 4K shooting guard, small forward that can play 20 minutes. Like we don't have a lot of those even
Right.
today, but I don't need him to be my chalk play. And if I'm going to get to 2x the field on, or in this case, 3x the field on Jalen Williams, I will also just be fine with that.
Right. And also, like Isaiah Joe is somebody that probably kind of goes hand in hand with how much Desmond Bane I have. Like
Yeah.
if I were playing a bunch of Trae Young instead of Bane, then Joe becomes more necessary to find that salary. But that could be another reason why I have so much Bane compared to Young is just not having somebody like Isaiah Joe. Also,
Anything
probably
else?
helps
Go
explain
ahead.
why, or partially explains like why I'm getting so much Terrence Mann right now. He's $600 more, getting less ownership,
Yeah.
and at least plays real minutes.
Lucky us.
Yeah,
This could have been a really fun game if people were healthy, but now it's just not.
and not
Eh,
suspended.
Yeah. So wait, who's suspended?
Is Ja back today?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Sorry. I was leading into Dallas Denver.
Oh! I thought you were saying Memphis OKC could have been really fun because it could
Oh
have
yeah,
been.
if you get all of those healthy or unhealthy dudes and Ja back for Memphis against this
Right,
OKC team, it's like appointment viewing for me.
right. Yeah, that's what I thought you were saying.
No, I was not. If this
And then
was
I was
Smart,
just like,
Morant, Triple J, Adams,
right,
and like I'm in and Bain against the
right. Yeah, and then I
OKC
was
pick.
like, if
Yeah,
Morant's not suspended, why are we talking about Jacob Gilliard?
yeah, no, but it's soon.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah.
soon. Dallas is 7.5 point dogs in Denver, 238 total. So Dallas is going to be without Josh Green, Kyrie Irving, Maxi Kleba, and Derek Lively. And there's a Q tag on Rashawn Holmes. The Nuggets have a Q tag on KCP. He basically just has to get cleared from the concussion protocol. Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray are both probable. There's no ownership coming into Dallas. I don't know how you get to a 12-1 Luka right now, just given some of the other pay up options, other than by all means play the dude that's really good in Luka Doncic, but there's just a couple versions of him today. Are you getting any Luka?
6%, so
Okay.
right around the field. But like you said, if that were to like become Embiid, cool. If it were to go away, obviously I prefer it not, but it certainly could. If it increases, happy with that. You're never going to be upset about getting him, but he is very expensive. Just also playing huge minutes.
Yeah, he can become Trae Young, he can become Shea, he can
Right.
become Jokic. Like there's just too many different versions of him today to get any sort of priority. I don't
Only
really get to
37 minutes
anybody
last game.
else. What'd you say?
Only played 37 minutes last game.
Yeah.
And
9%
yeah,
Derek Jones Jr. is the high mark for
I have
ownership.
1% Derek Jones Jr. He's 9% owned.
So the question for me becomes one, if Rashawn Holmes is in, is he interesting today at the flat 3K?
We still only have him projected for like 13 DraftKings points, but
Yeah.
if he were to get like all the backup center minutes, that would be somewhat interesting.
Or start.
Well, yeah,
I don't think he's starting, but like, it's not like Dwight Powell is awesome.
right.
Do we need to talk about Markieff Morris revenge narrative here?
Is he gonna pull a Drummond and find a way to not play also?
I would be if I were him. But 4K power forward center, like it's one of their big men are probably playing enough minutes to matter.
Yeah, we don't have any of them projected to matter, which is
Neither do I. I don't have it either, but it felt like
yeah,
the right
like
thing to talk through.
the highest projected, random big for us is Dwight Powell at 14.3 at
I
4,200.
have him
So
at
that's
17.2 and I still don't get him.
right. So we have 19 minutes to Powell, 14 to Holmes, 13 to Morris.
Yeah. I have a couple more to basically all three of those guys and still don't get them. So maybe that's telling.
Right.
I don't get anything here. Like Hardaway's playing bigger minutes, but he's uninteresting. Grant Williams is just uninteresting always, no matter what. Exum's already at 6,600. It's really hard to unlock anything here for Dallas,
Agreed.
which is weird considering how many people are out. Whoa, okay, I'm getting a part of the Denver side. 10% ownership coming into Aaron Gordon, 15 to Jamal Murray, 5 to MPJ, 7 to Jokic. I'll start here. Are you getting any Jokic? I would imagine the answer is no.
I have 3%. So
Okay. Because I think Embiid looks better than Jokic today. Or, at least like close to it. but I don't have either one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I had 1% Embiid, 3% Jokic, 6% Luka.
Mm, hard. You
Fields
getting
getting to
anybody here?
7%.
You getting anything?
Oh, Jamal Murray, 14%. That's pretty much in line with the field at 7,200. Happy with that. Good matchup and pretty favorable price tag. 9% Michael Porter Jr., 8% Aaron Gordon, and then the 3% Jokic. So the four non-KCP starters are all showing up at least a little bit for me.
I have slightly more Jamal Murray, 61.
A little bit more.
Yeah. Don't hate it. He's going to start playing 30 minutes again, I think.
Yeah. Well, and he's another one where like maybe I start getting more once I don't have 70% Jaden Ivey.
Yeah, that'll probably move some stuff around for you, I would guess.
Yeah, seems likely.
I might want to tweak Murray's minutes a little bit. I don't know how much his like right tail exists right now. Do you have any thoughts there? Like, do you think he's capable of just playing?
So 27 and a half last game. Didn't close the second quarter. Like potentially left 4 minutes there.
Since he's come back, 29, 32, 29, sat out the second half of a back-to-back 22, 27.
And what do you have him projected for?
I went 30.
Yeah, so I think that's where I would go.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 31, which also
Okay.
I think is reasonable.
Yeah, I don't know if I should go to 29, just considering I don't know how likely he is to play like 34.
Right.
And I think if I go 29, I'll still have more than, I've already got 61%. So that'll be one that I'm going to pay attention to. Anything else for Denver?
Nope.
We are zipping through this bad boy. Final thing to talk about. If you guys like bowl season in the college football streets, you should use the promo code BOWL and sign up and get 50% off our college football and college basketball projections. Now, if you want to do it for a week, you can do that. But I think if you're doing this, you kind of want to go for the month. That's going to be $25. But you'll get our college football projections and ownership throughout the rest of bowl season. There's going to be a couple really nice college football slates coming up in the near future. Get ready for those. But then you also get our college basketball projections for the rest of that you sign up for. If it's a week, you get them for a week. If it's a month, you get them for a month, obviously. College basketball, fun times. The prize pools aren't great, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that those are pretty soft contests. And if you've got our projections, you're going to be off to a great start. So again, promo code is BOWL, link in the description. 3 to go. Brooklyn Nets, 3.5-point favorites in Utah, 232 total. 15% ownership to Spencer Dinwiddie, 15 to Nick Claxton, 10 to Mikal Bridges. Call it 5 to Cam Johnson. I don't have this team at all, really. I have 9% of Mikal Bridges, who I think looks pretty solid at 7,700, but I don't have a single share of Spencer Dinwiddie. I basically don't have Nick Claxton. What are you doing with the Nets here? Nice spot.
I don't have any Dinwiddie. I do have 9% Claxton. So I'm right in line with optimal percentage there. I am below the field. He's getting 16% ownership, but it is a solid price tag. I understand why the field's getting there. I'm getting to 8% Bridges, Fields at 11%, so not too far off there either. Those are my two highest owned guys from Brooklyn, 4% apiece for Cam Thomas and Cameron Johnson. But not getting as much of this team as the field is, not getting to Dinwiddie, like you said. We only have him with a 6% chance of being optimal, 15% ownership. So just at the guard spots where you can find plenty of other plays, he's just not really showing up for me right now.
Yeah, Dinwiddie's interesting. So I took his less than PRA on Prize Picks on my video earlier today, and I took that before I went to Odd Shopper and found out that less than whatever the hell the line was for Spencer Dinwiddie was a top play. So I was just like, oh, we're in lockstep there. That makes me feel a little bit better. So that maybe his stuff's coming down, and we'll see that ownership come down a little bit. But yeah, other than that, it's really just Bridges for me. Oh boy. You want to go to the Utah Jazz?
Yes.
All right. So Jazz have a couple quirks for today. Now, they are unowned across the board, but no Jordan Clarkson, no Keontae George. We have a Q tag on Omer Yurtseven, a Q tag on John Collins, and Lauri Markkanen is back. No ownership coming in here. I don't see anything from Utah that I would like. And I'm guessing even if John Collins ends up out, that stays the same.
Yeah, Sexton's the only piece I'm really getting at all. I have 9% right now, 1% Kessler.
Yeah, I don't like the
And
Sexton one's
Sex,
weird. 7K, that's a big price tag.
yeah, I think he probably goes away. We have him projected for 3% ownership with a 9% chance of being optimal. So it's another, early morning spot where one of those things is going to change. But right now he's being projected as somebody going under owned and, like a good pivot, for example, from Dinwiddie.
Yeah.
But I assume I just kind of lose that by lock. We
Yeah,
have him
like
at 30 minutes, 34 DraftKings points.
okay. Yeah, I got 30 minutes, 32 DraftKings points.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting him. Probably doesn't help that I have 61% Jamal Murray at $200 more.
Yeah,
But
that'll
like,
that'll do it.
you got Jordan Poole at the exact same price tag today. I don't see those guys as like wildly different, especially in a matchup against Sacramento. But yeah, I don't have much of Utah. But if we don't have Collins today, I really don't think it's unlocking anybody new. Like Kelly Olynyk's already 6K. I think Chris Dunn could be like a little sneaky at 5,300, but not really.
Yeah. It's tough with this team as they get healthier because
Yeah.
like obviously having bodies back, but you also just don't know. I don't think you're going to get consistent rotations because most of these guys are just so bad. And Will Hardy is very willing to just swap things around.
Yes, he is. Anything else for Utah?
It's sort of like it's not the same, but it kind of reminds me of OKC during the years that they were just experimenting.
Yeah. Yeah, like 18 months ago, Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
It's like,
Except
oh,
here, I don't think
14
it's
guys played 26 minutes apiece type
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know
Like
that's too many minutes, but you know what I
that,
mean?
like with OKC, it was by design. Like they openly were trying to do that. With Utah, I think it's more they would love for guys to actually step up and earn roles, but they
Yeah.
all suck. And Will Hardy just gets fed up with it.
Speaking of guys that suck, the Washington Wizards are 11.5 point underdogs in Sacramento, 245 total. 6% ownership coming into Daniel Gafford is the high mark. It feels like these guys are playing a little bit of additional minutes as of late. They are on a back-to-back, though, so there is no injury report. I don't have a single share of the Washington Wizards.
I have 31% Gafford right now.
Okay. Get some,
I
Homer.
Yeah, I mean, I assume it comes down, but we have him with a 9% chance of being optimal, 6% ownership. It kind of just seems like he is what I'm using as a contrarian play, where like I was under the field on Claxton. I was under the field on somebody else in this range. I was over the field on Capella in this range, but
Yeah.
it kind of just seems like Gafford is just like absorbing a lot of the field's going to other guys in this range, and I'm just continuously going to Gafford right now, which probably or it's likely to be different by lock, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I don't hate it. He's still a good point per minute guy. If he avoids foul trouble and injury, which I've said it before, I'm pretty sure he goes to the locker room as often as people think Anthony Davis does.
Yeah.
But it's still a decent price tag, 31%. Other than that, I'm not getting anything else. 3% Kuz, 3% Pool. So yeah, it's Gafford for me right now. Certainly could change though.
I normally get a bunch of Gafford. I didn't today.
Yeah. There's nothing about it. When I look at it, the reason I keep saying that I think it's relatively likely it comes down is there's nothing that stands out as, oh, the field is missing on Gafford here. He looks great. It's just like he is showing up for me right now as one of the contrarian plays I'm using a lot, but stuff like that is very just kind of random.
Yeah. The Sacramento side, I'm very curious about because I'm not really getting it, and I think that I should be getting a lot of it. So De'Aaron Fox is questionable, and that will be a big piece. He and Sabonis are both 4% owned, and that's the high marks for both guys. 9,600 for Fox, 9,800 for Sabonis. I have both guys projected quite well, but I only got 7% Fox and none of Sabonis. I would like to have a bunch of these two dudes against Washington.
Yeah, I wish I was getting more. I have 9% Sabonis, 4% Fox. So like I'm even with the field on Fox. I'm 2x the field on Sabonis. The field just really isn't getting there. But ideally, I would get more. Like you said, it's a great spot against Washington. I think it's just the positions and the pricing because Sabonis is center only as he should be on DraftKings.
Yeah.
Fox is point guard only as he should be. But it's so tough. Or it's so much more difficult to get to guys when those are their only positions because you have so many options. Like I'm not getting a lot of Trae Young. I say I want or I wish I was getting more De'Aaron Fox. It's not like I wish I were not getting Trae Young also at basically the same price. So It's just kind of tough to differentiate those guys. And in my case right now, even get to that price range, but very, very good matchup and would be happy whatever I am getting here.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get a bunch of Fox and Sabonis. When just looking at Sabonis, I was like, oh, he's going to be like the most efficient way to pay up, and you get this Wizards matchup, and it just didn't happen. Do you get anything else here from Sacramento?
No, I'm glad to finally not be getting, 40% Malik Monk. He's up to almost 7K.
That's fair.
Yeah, I only have like
So
1 to 2% now.
pour one out for traditions, I guess.
Yeah.
Final game,
At
New
least
York
there's still
Knicks,
Ivy.
4.5 point dogs in Los Angeles, 227 total. Standard issue stuff for the Knicks. Same people that are normally available are available. No idea what's going to happen for the Lakers. It's Q tag on AD, Q tag on LeBron, Q tag on Christian Wood. No Gabe Vincent. Everybody else should be available. This one's just weird to me. Like I get it's probably a function of the slate. 27% ownership coming into Emmanuel quickly. I have 1%. I don't understand the ownership at all. Um, I just don't see it. 12% to Randall looks normal, but I don't. The quickly ownership is just like that's a very much a function of 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I don't get it. I'm not getting to him. It does explain also probably why, like, this is it, the 73% Terrence Mann, 16% Josh Richardson. Like, yeah, if the slate were to start and for some reason, Isaiah Joe is 22% and Emmanuel Quickly is 26%, then it would make sense to just be jamming those guys in at their respective ownerships. But all of this is going to flatten out by the time you get to lock, and you probably won't end up prioritizing any of it. So I think, like you said, it's just a function of 10 in the morning. But I don't get the Quickly ownership. I think he's perfectly fine if you just need to throw a $4,800 guy in and hope to get lucky. But
Yeah.
there's plenty of guys you can do that with. I don't think he stands out.
No, he hasn't been playing like
right
to justify it.
If you get to Randall at 8,600, sure. I'm only getting 1%. Fields at 12. I have 2% Josh Hart. I'm not getting to the Knicks.
I got 11% Randall, which I think is just super reasonable. But yeah, 1% of Quickly, which is exactly where I would want that to be if that ownership were real.
I'm assuming that part of the reason I don't have much Randall is Desmond Bane at the same price.
Yeah. And then on the Lakers side, AD and LeBron are basically just their version of Fox and Sabonis in that I think that I should get them. They aren't owned. 2% to LeBron, 1 to AD. I have neither guy, and I probably won't have them, but they both look fine.
Yeah, it's LeBron and AD. If you get there, great, but I'm not getting there. Unappealing matchup against the Knicks. Price tags are completely where they should be, pretty much, assuming that both guys play. Obviously, if one of them sits, the other one's going to look a lot better if we get that news in time for it to matter. But, yeah, like it would be nice to be getting to them at 1% owned, but at the same time, I would rather be playing Trae Young. I'd rather be playing De'Aaron Fox. If I can, I would rather be finding the money for one of Jokic, Luka, or Embiid. So I understand why they're not popular.
Yeah. Weird slate.
LeBron is 13% on FanDuel.
10K small forward, power forward.
Yeah.
Hard slate right now, which I'm happy about. I hate lacking so much of the pay up options, but it's really hard to differentiate Luka, Jokic, Embiid, Halliburton, SGA, AD, LeBron. Like, you can't be confident separating those guys today and getting that right.
Right. And then also, we just don't have a lot of cheap value to even get to that range in the first place.
Yeah, if that's the reason you're getting Jacob Gilliard, Daniel Tice, Malachi Flynn, it's like, oh, okay. I mean, 7.5% ownership to Kenrich Williams right now, 7 to Cason Wallace. Just like a lot of garbage at the bottom. Hard slate. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it looks fun. I mean, it's one of those that I think it's fun to play. It's very difficult to talk about.
But I hope we don't just get 6 stars out at 6 o'clock and we like it was that Friday slate that just became disgusting.
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember. I know we've had one or two of them lately where it's just like, oh, okay, well, everybody's playing 3 of the same guys.
Yeah. You have an article and a video today?
Just video.
Just a video. Oh, yeah. And there's NFL tonight, so that makes some sense. Contenders videos will be out in a bit. I got to go grab a haircut first, but I'll have those guys out in the early afternoon. Plenty of odds on the channel. Shout out to Underdog for being the sponsor. Shout out to Jordan Klein for producing. But we're going to get on out of here. Adam and I will be back at 4:45 for the deeper dive. So we'll see you then. Hit the like button. Peace.